Are you currently caring for an aging parent or another loved one? Do you feel pulled in all directions? How do we find a balance for that? Well, I'm glad you asked. So, I'm just going to talk about 3 ways I was able to handle being the primary caregiver for my aging mother. And I just want to say here, I want to use a disclaimer here, is that my experience as a caregiver was caring for my aging mother. My mother moved in with me when she was 82 years old. It was my youngest son was 10th grade. So the last 2 years of his high school, she lived here with us. And I was the primary caregiver for my mom from her age of 82 till she passed away at 91. So, and she lived with me all except for a year and a half at the end of, at the end of her life. Couldn't provide the kind of care that she needed for about a year and a half before she passed away. So I had to put her in a nursing home. Hardest decision I ever had to make, but I don't regret making that decision because I looked at it as I had a team of people to do what I was trying to do by myself. So, being a caregiver takes a lot, and it will take a lot out of you. And so, I found these 3 ways that help me to be a better caregiver for my mother, and also help me. It helped me to be able to do my daily activities and my daily life. And actually it helped me to give myself a life. So I had a friend to come to me pretty much just needing to talk, just needing to vent. And my friend is a caregiver for their aging parent. And it has become a hard task for them. And they just wanted to know how I did it. And honestly, I never thought about it, but they said, you made it seem like it was so easy. You had everything under control and you were always positive and always happy. Well, I never realized that. Now, I am the youngest of 5. And I often, and even ask my sisters and brothers, how did I draw this short straw to have to take care of my mom, have move her into my house, change my whole life and my whole lifestyle for her. But truth be told, I wouldn't have had it any other way, and neither would my mom. Like I mentioned before, I am the youngest of 5. The funny thing about that is I am so much younger than my sisters and brothers. My brother that's next to me is 7 years older than I am. And then the other 3 are 10, 11, and 12 years older than I am. So when I was 5, my brother graduated from high school and went to college. And I don't ever remember him living at home. I only remember him living or being in school. And he lives about an hour away from where I live. And that's the only memory I have of him. And I often tell him, often tease him and say, I don't even think you ever lived with us, because he's always been, in where he lives now. But, I asked, how did I draw the short straw that I had to take care of mom? But since the time I was 12, it was me and my mother, because my parents separated when I was 12. Now, my sisters and brothers were all grown. A couple of them, no, 3 of them, the 3 older ones were married and had families. And my brother that's next to me was about 19, I guess, when my parents separated. But he was away in the Navy. So everybody was grown except for me. And so my mom and I moved to another city, same state. And it's really just been me and my mom since I was 12. And it's funny because a lot of my friends that I grew up after I moved to the other city, my friends that I knew then and grew up with and graduated high school and everything, a lot of them didn't know I had sisters and brothers. And honestly, I think even at my age now, there's a lot of them that still don't know that I have sisters and brothers. But anyway, when it came time, when she decided that she didn't need to live by herself anymore, she made all of her decisions. She decided when she didn't need to drive anymore. She, decided when she stopped driving. She decided when she quit smoking. Just one day she just decided not gonna smoke again. She had one cigarette left in her cigarette box, and she held on to that cigarette in that cigarette box for years. I honestly think I threw that cigarette and that box away when I cleaned out her apartment after she moved in with me. And my younger son at the time was 15, 16, and she quit smoking the day before his first birthday. See my little trusted sidekick here. Want to be in the video. She didn't care. She just trying to get to something over here that's on my dresser. But so she made all of her decisions and, honored her decisions, or we honored her decisions. So when she decided she didn't need to live by herself anymore, I tried to talk her out of it, to be honest. But I knew that, it was going to happen. And so she moved in here with me, and she became so humble. You'd have to know my mom. She was super independent. So I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to make it together as adults in the same house. I told her that the last time we lived together, I lived with you in your house. This time you're living with me in my house. You think you can handle that? So she was like, oh, yeah. So she moved in with me, and she became so very humble, and it worked out well. She became very humble, and then as she stayed here with me, she really became dependent on me. Whatever I wanted to do, whatever I said, well, can I do such and such? Mom, if that's what you want, yes. So I don't know why I said all that, but anyway. So once she moved in,
I don't even know where I'm going with this anyway.
So my friend asked, how did I manage everything? Because I worked full time. And as I said, I had 15, 16-year-old, 2 years left of high school. And it was a lot. It was a lot. It was very challenging. But three ways or three things to help all of us. But definitely to help me to be able to cope and to be able to create a home that was full of love and happiness. So those three things that you really need to do is setting boundaries, self-care, and delegate. Those three things help. So we'll talk about number one, setting boundaries. If you're not intentional about setting boundaries, being a caregiver can consume every aspect of your entire life. It will take all of your energy. It's super important to set clear boundaries because that will prevent burnout and ensures that you have time for yourself, your family, and whatever other obligations you may have, if that's work, community, whatever. You have to set clear boundaries. Because like I said, if you don't set those boundaries, being a caregiver can spill over into every aspect of your life. And it'll leave you feeling overwhelmed, and it could leave you feeling a little resentful. I did, I did have a period of time where I was a little resentful because I felt like it was just me doing all of this. And when I watched my sisters and brothers talk about or listen to them talk about their vacations and what they were about to do, where they were going for this holiday, for that holiday, and here I am. I have my mom. I can't just whisk off to somewhere, like I'd like to, because I have my mom. So I did become a little bit resentful, a little. And you might ask, well, how can I set boundaries? Well, one, you have to define specific caregiving hours, maybe, in the morning or in the afternoon, or however you have to structure your day. But in that structure, also carve out maybe an hour or two or 30 minutes, even 15 minutes, just for you. And that can be sitting quietly and reading a book. That can be journaling. That could be taking a nap. Whatever it is, you have to schedule it as part of your day and make sure you adhere to it. Don't let anybody keep you from doing what you have set out to do for yourself, because people will, oh, it's just going to be a few minutes. Oh, it's just going to be that. you have to hold true to what you set out to do. Also, communicate your boundaries. Communicate your boundaries, make it clear, and let them know, no, that's not going to work with my schedule. I have this going on. I have decided, I have scheduled this or I've scheduled that, and stick to it. And learn to say no. No is a complete sentence. It does not require any explanation. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to stretch yourself thin, because that doesn't do anything to help you. The second thing is scheduling self-care. It is absolutely a must that you schedule self-care for yourself, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you keep doing everything and never taking any time for yourself, you will burn out super quickly. Super quickly. You will burn out. Taking care of yourself is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Self-care keeps you physically, mentally, and emotionally strong. And you will need all of that as a primary caregiver for your aging parent. Neglecting self-care can lead to exhaustion, stress, and it can even cause some health problems. You don't want that. Make sure you take time for you. How do you do this? Schedule. Schedule time throughout the day or however often you do your self-care. For me, once my mother moved in, my self-care was going to the hairdresser every 2 weeks. Stop. It was going to the hairdresser every 2 weeks. My mom was a hairdresser, so she taught all of us girls how to do our own hair. And for years, I did my own hair. The only thing I didn't do was relax it or color it. Not relax it or cut it in style. So I would always go to the hairdresser to get a relaxer or to get my hair cut in the style. But after that initial visit, I was doing my regular routine shampoos and styling my hair. But once my mom moved in, I felt like I needed something just for me. So I would schedule hairdresser visits every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. And for me, it was exciting because I got to go and be pampered. I felt like I was being pampered because I would go into the hairdresser and sit down and she'd do everything else. Now, because I knew how to do my hair, I had a house full of hair products. So one way to keep me sticking to that schedule was I got rid of all of my hair products at home. Everything. I didn't get rid of the tools like my Marcel irons or my stove. I didn't get rid of any of that. But all of the stuff like shampoos and creams and lotions and stuff for your hair, I got rid of all of that. And it was funny because my kids would come home and they would be like, Mom, do you have any shampoo? And I'm like, no, I don't have any shampoo. And they're like, you don't have any shampoo at all? No. And, I would explain to them because I'm going to get my hair done every 2 weeks. And if I had the products here in the house, then I would be like, well, I don't have to go get my hair done today. I'll just do it myself. But I like the pampering, and I felt like I deserved it. I felt like I deserved to be able to go to the hairdresser every 2 weeks because I knew how to do my hair. Typically, that was just money I saved. I mean, money I had. But I felt like I deserve this. I'm going to pay whatever I need to pay to go get my hair done every 2 weeks. And that was my self-care. Your self-care could be daily. It could be weekly. It could be bi-weekly like mine was. But you have to do something where you just be able to relax. You can incorporate small pockets of mindfulness in your self-care. Deep breathing exercises, meditation, again, reading a book, journaling, any of that. And if you feel like you need someone to talk to or you need some therapy, do not hesitate to seek professional help. There are a lot of agencies out here that provide counseling or support groups for caregivers just to get you in with other caregivers, and you get to bond and you get to vent to each other about the challenges of being a caregiver. And even if you vent, it doesn't mean that it's nothing wrong with venting. That's a good thing because you're getting it out. You don't want to keep it bottled in. Whatever it is you're feeling, the resentment, any of that. You don't want to keep it bottled in. So there's always, professional help you can seek. And the last thing is delegate. Learn to delegate. Don't hesitate to ask for help if you need it. If you've got sisters and brothers or other close family members or even close friends, don't hesitate to reach out to them. Because if you don't reach out to them, they won't know that you need the help. I had somebody say to me, I made it look easy. You got it all together. You really handling that. You got it all together. I was screaming inside because I needed the help. But I wasn't asking. Or I wasn't letting anybody know that I need the help. You have to let somebody know that you need the help. You have to delegate because they're not going to come to you and say,
well, is there something I can do?
Some people will come and say, is there something I can do? But everybody that asks if there's something I can do are not sincere about that. They're not trying to help. They're just trying to be polite and nice. But you have to delegate. And delegating, it allows you to focus on what matters. And it also reduces the physical and emotional burden of caregiving. And it also involves others in helping you give the care to the loved ones. And it'll create stronger bonds and a better support system for you. How do you delegate? Identify specific tasks that others can do, like grocery shopping, driving to appointments, or handling paperwork. For me, my older brother, as I said, lived about an hour away, and he would drive here to take mom to doctor's appointments. He asked me, he said, well, make her appointments in the afternoon and I'll come up and I'll take her to the appointments. That way you don't have to take the time off from work to do that. He said that helps you not have to leave work, but it also helps me because it gives me time to be with my mom, to spend more time with mom. And that worked out perfect. I would make the appointments in the afternoon. I'd tell him, plenty of time. I would tell him as soon as I made the appointment, and I would always, the appointment would always be like a week out. And he would drive up, they would go to her appointment and perhaps go out to lunch or do something. And she loved it. She loved it. She loved it. I also gave him a card. I created a card that had all of her information on it. It had all of her doctor's names on it. It had her allergies on it. Had all of her medications on it. Can't remember what else it had on it. Any kind of ID numbers that she may have had with the doctor's office or whatever. And that was for him to have that information on hand whenever he took her to the doctor, so that they wouldn't have to call me. They would have everything they needed. So that helped me out greatly because at that time I wasn't in management, so I had to be careful about how much time I took off. And with aging parents, there are quite a few doctor's visits, and sometimes there are last minute doctor's visits. He would even come up for that if I needed him to. I tried not to, put things, make it so he, have to come up. I tell him today, he'd be here tomorrow, but he would if he had to. But it just helped out a lot. It just helped me out so much. Stop. Be clear and direct when asking for help. Instead of saying, I need help, say something like, can you come over on Tuesday to help me with laundry? And give a time, but don't call on Monday to ask, can you come on Tuesday? Try to give it a week out or so, or several days out, and you probably get better help that way. And also, if your mom or your parent was involved in church or community, there may be some friends there that she has or he had, your dad, whether it's your mother or your father. There may be some friends there that would be willing to come over and help. Maybe come over and sit with her for a while you run out to the store. my mom did have some friends that would come over and sit with her on Friday afternoons for about an hour, 2 hours. And they told me, they said, we'd like to come over and sit with your mom and visit with her. And that way you can get out and do whatever you need to do. Just go do something for yourself. And that helped a lot too, because that was like every Friday they would come over, and I look forward to it. So that helped. And you can use resources like some community organizations that may have activities for your loved one, and also checking with the county, because a lot of places have resources for seniors, and that helps out a lot. That helps out a lot. Look into the county and what the seniors resources may be in your area. So those are the 3 things that I found to be beneficial to me to help me get through caring for an aging parent. Set those boundaries. Make sure you set those boundaries. Make sure you take care of yourself. Self-care is not selfish. It is definitely necessary. And also delegate. Delegate. Don't hesitate to ask for help. There were times when I would assign things to my sisters and brothers, and it worked out. It worked out perfectly though. And my mom has been gone now for almost 9 years, and I miss her dearly. But I can say when she took her last breath, I was completely satisfied with everything that I had done for her. I was completely satisfied. I miss her. I miss her daily. But she was satisfied and I was satisfied with how we worked together. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you have found this video to be helpful, please leave me a comment. Please share this video if you have friends that may be in a situation where they are the caregiver for their aging parent and they just need a little bit of advice or a little bit of encouragement. And again, I appreciate you. Subscribe to my channel. I would love that. Thank you so much. You all have a great day.